Folks, happy Homebrew Wednesday. Cheers, everybody. It's good to see you back here today. We have an interesting project today. So, I was going through my fridge the other day, going through my cupboards, and realized that I have a lot of leftover ingredients. I don't want anything to go to waste, so I want to get some use out of them, okay, before everything goes bad. So, today's beer, I'm calling a junk drawer beer. I've never done one of these before, but I'm just taking these leftover ingredients and throwing together a beer, okay? Based on the ingredients I had, the style I can do the best with what I have is something lighter, like a cream ale. I have some light DME, I have some dextrose or leftover corn sugar that's supposed to be used for bottling. But since I haven't bottled the last couple of kits, I had to build up a corn sugar in the closet, okay? So DME, corn sugar, I have some Sabro hops left over from my Island Cream Ale. But since that really didn't go as planned with the fresh coconut, I'm gonna take another shot at it and I'm gonna add the natural coconut that I contemplated using last time. I ended up dumping about 3 ounces in my keg. It didn't really help that beer because of that natural coconut. That's about 1/4 of a bottle left, isn't it? I'm calling it an ounce. So let's go over to Beersmith real quick and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing today, and then we'll come back and chat about it a little bit before we start. Okay, so I'm gonna boil today for 60 minutes, starting with 1.25 gallons of water. I'm going to use 12 ounces of light DME and 8 ounces of corn sugar or dextrose in the boil. I'm gonna come back at the 15-minute mark and add 0.15 ounces of Sabro. That comes in at 14.3% alpha. And then I'm gonna pitch the USO5 from Safe Ale. Not a full package, maybe half a pack or something like that. And then after it's done fermenting here in a couple weeks, on the day I bottle it, I'm gonna add the natural coconut flavoring that I have left from Brewer's Best. I have an ounce left, so I'm just gonna add that at bottling. And then what we should have is a nice light cream ale. You can see where everything falls right here. Pushing the range a little bit on the ABV, but that's okay. We're going for taste. We're not going to win any competitions with this or anything. So, looks good. Okay, so this beer is gonna come out nice and light. It's not gonna have a lot of complexity because I'm not using any grains or anything like that. I'm just using some DME and some corn sugar, okay? The range of ABV for a cream ale is supposed to be 4.2 to 5.6% ABV. Mine is set to come out around 5.7% ABV, putting it out of the range just a little bit. But here's the thing. OG for a cream ale or specific gravity is supposed to be 1042 to 1055. Mine is supposed to come out at 1045. So I've got a little leeway there. I normally don't hit my target gravity right on the nose. I'm usually, you know, a little bit low. So if it says I'm supposed to come out at 1045, I'm hoping to come out around 1042, 1043, and bring that ABV down just a touch, okay? So normally I'm trying to hit my numbers right on the dot. It usually doesn't happen, but today it's a good thing. If it doesn't come out quite at 1045, that'll be great, okay? At any rate, either way, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a tasty beer, hopefully. My plan, since I had, like I said, I based this recipe on what I had available. Since I did have some of this natural coconut flavoring, I have enough hops. I probably could have made a pale ale, maybe even an IPA. But I like those beers to be a little heavier in body and a little more complex. And since I just have some DME and some dextrose, I thought a light beer would be the best beer that I could possibly make with what I have. And since I do want to try out this natural coconut, I thought, why not, you know, just make a nice light little beer and see if that coconut can carry it a little bit. So that was my thinking anyway. I don't know if you've ever seen these, but you can keep them on your cups and keep the flies out. It's always a great thing to have out here in the garage. I bottled the White House Honey Ale before this project right here, and I had so many dang flies in here, there probably weren't any left in the neighborhood. I think I had every fly in the neighborhood. Right here. Okay, so I got everything sanitizing as always down in my little tub right here. I have 1.25 gallons of water in the brew kettle already. Oh, first, there's something else I want to talk about. Cheers. What is it about beer people and stickers? I'm not sure, but we love them, don't we? People with beer fridges, beer coolers. I have the my fermentation fridge back there that helps me control the temp, and I've been putting stickers on that thing. And it's good to see it come together. These are from Disaster Brewing in Portland, Oregon, I think. Yeah, the letter came from Portland. Or, sorry, Oregon City. It got stamped in Portland. So Disaster Brewing in Oregon City, thank you so much. Man, they sent me a couple. Ooh, they sent me 3. Show them to you. I showed you the first one already. Man. Which one to put on my fridge? I've got some other stuff. I got a clipboard that I've been putting some stickers on. Of course, I got this fridge out here, so we'll let these go around. And man, that's awesome. Thank you, Disaster Brewing. These things are sweet. So one thing I want to mention, US-05 is probably my favorite type of yeast, my favorite strain. The WLP White Lab 001 California Ale yeast, I've heard is the same strain as the US-05. It attenuates well. It pretty much ferments all the sugars out. Not all, but I think I read it has like I think someone got like an 80% attenuation rate out of it. So it doesn't leave a lot of sugars behind. It comes out super clean, fairly dry. Okay, so I wouldn't really maybe use this for a maltier beer. I'd probably use the SO4, okay? But anyway, I love clean beers. Clean, light beers, I love them. Okay. So, like I said, already got the water in there. Let's start heating it up, and we'll go from there. Cheers, guys. We have liftoff. Okay, so I'm just putting a little flame on it right now to start heating it up, because I'm gonna start adding my DME and my dextrose. I used to wait until we reached the boil, or until the water was fairly hot. But once the water gets hot, you got some steam rising, and it likes to clog up the opening of your bag, that steam coming up and hitting the DME. And it doesn't take much, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get these into the brew kettle while the water's still somewhat cool, and then we'll bring our fermentables up to a boil, okay? Like I said, I've never done this before, you know, putting together a little beer with just the stuff I had. I have the DME for making yeast starters, had some left over, but I didn't have enough to make another yeast starter with. So we're gonna use it to make a beer. It's super important to keep this stuff stirred in as you pour, because the bottom of the kettle's a little hot because of the direct flame, okay? You definitely don't want any of this stuff to scorch. I used to pour it kind of like this, take a break, because it turns into dough balls when it hits the water. But one thing I've learned is that once this water comes up to a boil, all those dough balls are gonna go away. So now, I just get it in there. It'll be great. I don't mind if there's a little left because I'm trying to be a little bit low on my numbers today. Not a lot, and usually I don't have to try, it'll be a little low anyway. This dextrose I can see scorching a lot easier than the DME, so I'm gonna keep that stirred in really, really well. Oh yeah. Well, it doesn't look like anything that's gonna become beer, but it will. It'll be good, good, good. This is gonna be a super easy beer to make today. Like I said, obviously it's not an all grain beer. So I don't have to heat 5 gallons of water. I don't have to mash. That takes what, about 2-3 hours out of the brew day, okay? And then I'm not gonna do anything till the 15-minute mark. I'm just gonna bring this to a boil. Once it reaches a slow rolling boil, I don't boil vigorously anymore because I get a little too much boil off, okay? Last time I used 1.5 gallons of water for a 1 gallon batch instead of 1.25, and it didn't boil off enough. So the White House Honey Ale, that batch was a little bit bigger than I would have liked it to be. Therefore, you know, making the beer a little more watery, for lack of a better term, thinner, okay? So today, I just used the 1.25 that the last Northern Brewer kit suggested. And I think with a slow rolling boil, I think after boil off, I'll get about a gallon, okay? So I'm gonna continue to stir this until we reach a slow rolling boil. And then we're just gonna let it go. Come back at the 15-minute mark, add some hops. Might throw in a quarter of a Whirlflock tablet for clarity. And then we're gonna chill this baby down and pitch the yeast. I love brewing in the summertime, but it definitely makes chilling the beer at the end a little harder because the groundwater isn't cool enough to get this beer down to 70, 75 degrees where I like to pitch. So I'm probably going to use an ice bath in conjunction with my wort chiller. Okay, so I'll start with the wort chiller later on, knock off the big heat, and then take it in the kitchen and put it in an ice bath and let it finish there. If you don't have a wort chiller, an ice bath will work just fine. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. There's nothing wrong with an ice bath. There's nothing wrong with taking 45 minutes or an hour to chill your beer, okay? I've got a note here that I've been meaning to talk about. You want to chill it fairly quickly below 80 degrees to prevent oxidation, because if you slosh hot wort around, then it gets oxidation, and that's a negative thing at that point when it's above 80 degrees. You can fact check me on this. This is just stuff I've read recently. And then you want to chill it down rapidly between 90 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, because that range between 90 and 140 is the ideal range for bacterial growth. So the quicker you can chill it down below 90, the better. The whole thing about chilling it down below 80, that's only a big deal if you're gonna be sloshing it around and moving it and shaking it, okay? So before you pitch, I would make sure it's below 80 for sure, but getting it out of that 90 to 140 range, below that, will keep the bugs from growing, okay, the bacteria. But like I said, I've taken over an hour to chill a beer down in the past. In the grand scheme of things, I don't feel like that's very long, okay? And that was the most stressful thing about brew day for me in the past, was chilling it. Just seeing it sitting there in the sink, open, for wild yeast to get in, for bacteria to grow, it stressed me out. But honestly, after doing a few batches where it took me quite a while to chill it down, I don't worry about that stuff so much anymore, okay? So don't stress it. You know, all roads led to the ice bath back in the day. You know, it was hard to sit and enjoy the brew day because I knew eventually I'd have to chill it and I'd be stressed out about it sitting in the sink open. Don't worry about it, okay? Don't take 3 or 4 hours to chill it down. So I'm just gonna keep nursing this thing till we get up to a boil, and then we're waiting, basically. Then we're having a beer, enjoying this beautiful day. It's hot as hell today. I got 96 degrees on the garage thermometer, so it's a hot one for sure, but hey, it's easier than brewing out here in the wintertime, for sure. Some like it hot, some like it cold. I like it hot with a cold beer. If you're tired of buying kits, I mean, I don't want to take business away from, you know, those guys, Northern Brewer, Brewer's Best, my faves. But if you can't afford, you know, a $27 kit, $30, $35, $40, $47 kit, then you can easily put those ingredients together by yourself. You know, go to the brew shop, buy DME, or you might have to have bought the kit in the past to see exactly what's in it, to see what alpha your hops are, so that way you can match it yourself and recreate it. But you can piece ingredients together from the brew shop cheaper than you can buy the kit online, okay? So once you have a little bit of practice doing kits and either don't need the instructions or want to use your past instructions from a kit with the same ingredients, you can do that. And I mean, that's essentially what I'm doing today, but there's no LME involved, no specialty grains, just a man, some water, some DME, some dextrose, some hops, and some USO5. And that's all nice and dissolved now. There's no more dough balls or anything like that. We got all of the sugars dissolved in this water, and we're coming up to temp. So now that I'm sure there's nothing sitting on the bottom, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the flame up just a bit to bring us to the boil just a little bit quicker. Okay, so we've reached a gentle rolling boil. What I'm gonna do is back the heat off just a touch. Because like I said, I wanna make sure I don't get way too much boil off. And then if this gets down out of the boiling range, I'll turn the heat back up a little bit just so I can control what kind of boil I have, okay? So that calmed it down a little bit. It's still a little rolling boil. Now all we have to do is start the clock for 60 minutes. Once this clock reaches 15 minutes, we'll come back, we'll add our hops, we'll add the quarter of the Whirlflock tablet, and then it'll be time to chill. It's time to chill right now, I guess, but it'll be time to chill the beer. Woo! I forgot to mention earlier when we were talking about stickers, I should have mentioned it. If you want one of my stickers, email me at beerlifedeath@gmail.com with your address and I'll send you a sticker for free, okay? While supplies last, of course. This is what I'm doing right now. Just gonna have a beer. Just gonna watch this pretty little boil, and I'll see you at the 15-minute mark. Cheers, guys. Okay, so we reached the 15-minute mark. All I'm gonna do is get the hops in and the little piece of Whirlflock. I cut the Whirlflock tablet in fourths, and if one tablet is good for 5 gallons, then a quarter ought to do just fine for a gallon. And as always, I'm just gonna monitor this, because if the boil tries to come up any, then the hops will come up on the side. So I'm just gonna monitor it and make sure those hops keep scraped down into the wort. As soon as the 15 minutes are up and we hit flame out, then I'm gonna cut the heat, of course, and I'm gonna go out and start chilling down the wort. Okay, be right back. All right, so we've reached flame out. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the gas off here. Okay. I've had my wort chiller sitting in the hot wort for a couple minutes, 3 minutes. I had this, I soaked it in the sanitizer, you know, the whole time I've been brewing, basically. I scrubbed it down, so it was already sterile when I put it in. But I went ahead and dropped it in my wort with a couple minutes left in the boil, so that way that boiling wort would take care of any bacteria or anything that might still be on it. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to the backyard and start chilling this down. I'll see you there. Okay, it's hot. Damn near 100 degrees out here right now. Good day to brew, right? We got our wort down to about 80 degrees, okay? Like I said beforehand, I knew I probably wouldn't be able to get it down to 75 with groundwater, okay? With my immersion chiller. So now we gotta do the ice bath. But first, I'm curious about a couple of things. Number one being, did we yield a gallon using 1.25 gallons and accounting for boil off, okay? So I made a little mark here on my fermenter. If I get just below this mark, that's a gallon, okay? So right now, I'm afraid this thing won't fit in my sink. So first, I'm going to pour it from here to my fermenter and then put this in my sink to finish chilling it down. Okay? So first we're gonna measure gravity, and then I'm gonna bust it into the fermenter here and see if we reached a gallon, okay? Then I'll finish chilling it down. Okay. So with the refractometer, the wort came out around 1070. What? We were shooting for 1045. Let's see if we got a gallon. If this beer is hella stronger, I'm fine with it. Will it be a cream ale? No. I put it all in Beersmith. I can't imagine what would have happened. Let's see if we got a gallon. If it's less than a gallon, we'll top it up. And we can always, you know, put more water in it, and we'll see if we can mellow it down just a bit. Okay. So for now, we'll see if we got a gallon. We'll finish cooling it off, and then we'll test the gravity again. Okay, so that's the issue. We got a little too much boil off. I don't know if you can tell, but we're a good inch below that line. I'm gonna go ahead and top up with water. That's what the 5-gallon kits tell you to do. And this will actually cool the beer off even more. It's still wort because we haven't pitched the yeast yet, but. Okay, so now we have a gallon. It just goes to show that it doesn't matter how long you brew, sometimes you're faced with some crazy things. I'm sure this cured our issue. Let's see if we brought it back to a cream ale. You know, everyone wants their last or their latest video to be the best, but the way I see it, this is something I can look back on 10 years from now and be like, I've only been brewing for a couple years and this thing happened. We just learned lessons, right? So let's check the gravity again. Okay, so now we're back to 1048. We were shooting for 1045. I was hoping to get like 1042. But guess what? A cream ale goes from 1042 to 1055. We're at 1048. So it got us the cream ale again. Let's go ahead and check the temp again and see where we need to get down to. Okay, it's still at 84 degrees. I'm gonna take it into the ice bath and we're gonna chill this sucker down to about 75. And then we're gonna come back and pitch the yeast. Okay, so now that we're not out in the 100-degree heat, this thing is gonna cool off way faster. Nothing wrong with an ice bath. Okay, so I got this down to 75, right where I wanted it. We're gonna pitch some yeast. And one thing I've never really done before, I did it with some wine a while back, is I added some yeast nutrient. It just asks you to put in 1 teaspoon per gallon, okay? So we're just gonna add a teaspoon to that at the same time we put this in. Of course, I sterilized my scissors before I cut this open. We don't need the whole bag. You know, maybe half of it. That's a lot of yeast I just put in, so that'll be fine. 1 teaspoon of yeast nutrient. And I guess it's good to always do this, but since we're using dry yeast today and I didn't rehydrate it or anything, I just want to make sure it's nice and healthy, okay? So I'm gonna add some nutrient today. Okay, so let's stir this in good. Yeast likes some aeration before it starts fermenting. Make sure you don't shake this bucket around after it starts fermenting. But until then, I just like to stir it in. The lid's on nice and tight. Let's put our airlock in it. And that's the brew day. I'm gonna go put it back in the back bedroom where it stays about 70 degrees. Thanks for joining me today, guys. Cheers, and I'll see you next time.